Cloud Nexus. Once again, I am joined by the marvelous Martin Kennedy. Good morning, Martin.
Good
I called you
morning.
marvelous.
Good morning, Mr. Marvelous.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
I am joined as well by the brilliant Ben Wildman.
Hello.
Hey, Ben, how's it going?
About thanks yourself.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Say hello if you're in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. But we are just going to go through our usual weekly roundup of rambling and news and see what caught our eye this week. So first up, I think week before, we had a really interesting story about the guy who accidentally turned himself into a cat in front of the judge. And we're like, oh my God, Zoom horrors are just happening everywhere. One of the things that caught my eye this week then is another Zoom horror that's happened. I don't know if you guys saw this, but let me just share this with you. So an entire California school board was saying terrible things about parents on a Zoom broadcast.
This was brilliant.
I didn't see that.
And they didn't realize that they were still live. Or really, they didn't realize that this was a live broadcast. They thought it was a private meeting. And so they were saying some really terrible things. I mean, just woof. There's some spicy language that was going on. But again, just really being negative about the parents and what was going on. And once again, this is just like, oh my God, the horrors of what's happening when you don't secure your Zoom meetings.
That's
I think I read someone actually within the meeting said, "This is not live, is it?" or something like that.
No, it's this. So this woman here who, before she started off on this crazy tirade of brilliant language, was like, "This is private, right? Cool, okay." And then she jumped straight into F's and Jeffs, and oh my goodness. Morning, Amy. I can see Amy is making a brew while she's listening away. She actually gave us some feedback, I think, this week to say it's like just being in the office with a bunch of guys talking shit in the background. So that's exactly what we're aiming for. So that's cool.
Just a normal weekday at Cloud Nexus.
yeah, it is. Yeah, that's cool. So the other thing that caught my eye this week, and we are not going to dwell on this too long, or you told me not to dwell on this too long, because this is that Uber drivers are workers and not self-employed, according to the UK Supreme Court. So this has been a gig economy thing that's been going on for quite a while in the US now, and especially California have been very opposing to Uber drivers being considered as self-employed and not actually employed by Uber. Now, the only reason I call this out, because we don't want to get into the politics of whether they're being exploited as workers or anything like that. The reason I've put this in today is because Uber is always one of those examples of a tech company, an app company, one of those billion-dollar unicorns that's it's always touted as, hey, it's Uber and they're a billion-dollar tech giant, biggest taxi company in the world, but owns no taxis. And actually, this ruling, part of me is wondering, is this really going to dent their business model in the UK? Can they survive? And is the kind of disruption that they've brought to the industry long term. They've been here for maybe 4 or 5 years now, maybe a bit longer, but I just wonder whether it's sustainable when we look at these tech companies and their innovations. What do you guys think?
It's interesting, yeah, because I think we mentioned earlier, it's without getting too political, it's the actual driver's choice to actually want to be do a bit of work one day, not the other. It'd be interesting to see how that evolves and whether they're in contracts and they have to do so many hours a day or whatever, however it works. But
I mean, obviously you do need to protect workers, etc., and everybody accepts that. But when it is somebody's choice to do it as a second job or earn a little bit of income at the weekends, and all of a sudden, they're maybe not making as much, does it make it worth it? And then Uber's going to have a ridiculous amount of employees potentially.
Well, and it is just whether they can sustain that, or whether Uber just can't exist in that model in the UK and bows out, and then these guys who are working for Uber now go and work for other taxi firms or however that works. We are not equipped to talk about the politics and
no, certainly not.
The workers' rights here, so let's not try. But I just thought it was interesting. Uber's, as I say, always been touted as one of those massive organisations that is billion-dollar, really high margins for them, although they've never declared a profit, and low costs, and just is that sustainable? Craig, good morning. It's nice to see Craig's joining us live on the stream as well.
Morning.
Morning.
Good to see you, man. All right, let's move on. So something else that caught your eye this week, Martin, I thought this was really interesting. Let's have a look. So this is in this whole new world that we've got used to of remote working, and everyone's looking at this and saying, yeah, this is the future. No more big long commutes, or we're going to work in the office part of the time. The guy here, David Solomon from Goldman Sachs, he's actually referred to this as an aberration. He's referred to the sort of year that we've gone through this situation with coronavirus and this adaptation that we've had to do to working from home. He's called it an aberration. And that he, clearly wants to see a full return to what they would call business as usual. And I'm just interested because I think that kind of flies in the face of what we've heard from the customers that we've spoken to, and what we hear from the market in general when we think about technology and everything that's come on in leaps and bounds to get people into working from home. IT projects have never moved this fast to get everybody enabled, and businesses have really adapted. I'm not daft. I know that not every business can have adapted this way, but it seems a bit crackers to me. It seems a bit old school. It seems a bit, I don't know. I don't know the best way to say this, but I feel like it's a really old school part of the industry. This finance sector, maybe they're just old to adapt. I don't know. I'm trying not to be ageist. I'm trying to think mindset. If you
I think there'll be a lot of businesses will be like that. You can see a lot of big law firms, etc., taking that same kind of attitude towards being in the office and watching what people are doing. And we've talked about this a lot over the last year, and about the new normal and people working from home. And I think we're now getting to this position where very soon we're going to have to make a decision in the next few months. What's going to happen? Is everybody just going to all of a sudden go back? It's going to be a real shock to the system. A lot of mature, technically more mature companies, I'm sure, will take that grown up approach of, all right, Microsoft, for example, do what you want. You've got a choice. You can now permanently do what you want. You can work from home. You can use the offices. You can do your own hybrid in between. And I think that's what works for most people. Could you handle being stuck at home permanently? I used to work a couple of days. I'm now permanently at home. I am not commuting to Leeds, so I have no choice. However, I miss it. At the same time, the advantages of being here, is great as well. So it's tricky.
I definitely think there's I think more of a hybrid approach. He's definitely, I think, it's probably the best, isn't it? Because sometimes it's good just to have effectively that quiet time at home to crack on and do something if you're writing document or whatever.
But vice versa, it's quiet time in the office to get away from your family.
Exactly, yeah. Get the balance right.
And that's why I think this is an interesting perspective that this guy's come out with, because he's referred to the whole thing as an aberration. And that almost makes you think like it should never have happened. This whole idea of just everybody working from home should never have happened. That's an aberration. I can see that side of it. And Amy makes a good point in the comments there that actually, there are some businesses where it's literally, you've got to look them in the eye, you've got to shake their hand, you've got to get a signature on a piece of paper. And especially when it's these huge multi-million-pound deals. When I think back to when we were, selling GCI, to the private equity firm, yes, you have to meet people face to face. These deals are worth hundreds of millions of pounds. The ones that I was involved in. No, but I don't think anyone from our family is watching this, Amy. You're okay.
You've fallen asleep.
Yeah. I had one family member and one friend try to watch it, just go, I just don't understand it. It's too technical.
Boring.
Thanks. Yeah. I did explain it's like a crap version of Top Gear, except 3 blokes talk about IT. But no, so I get that you would want to be in the room on some of those key deals. I just think that there's what appears to be David Solomon from Goldman Sachs, his opinion of this is just absolutely no, everybody should be in the office. There's what we've had to deal with coronavirus at the other end of that spectrum with nobody in the office, and there's definitely somewhere in between where there's this hybrid approach. And like you say, some of the tech companies, oh, thanks. It's definitely not too technical. Wow. So some of the companies, you're going to regret this when we get into Ben's tech corner later.
We can make that happen.
But there's definitely this hybrid in the middle where there's work as appropriate for the work that you need to do and engage with the people that you need to, and that's why we've got all these fantastic technical capabilities and products like Zoom and Teams and all that kind of good stuff. Cool. All right. Well, should we go on to something a bit brighter?
Did you just mention Zoom? What's that?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah. Other solutions are available.
Look what happens when you use Zoom, right? Okay. Meow. No, that was last week. Okay. Let's move on. Martin, you found something really interesting.
This is cool.
Yeah, this is really good. Let me just pop this onto the screen so everyone can see. Martin, talk me through this. What's happening?
Oh, I think it's the first, but it's been described as the first UK kind of approved use of drones for delivery, if you like, and it's delivering COVID samples and PPE kit in the kind of Western Isles and kind of Oban area, so quite a lot of smaller islands in the Argyll and Bute area. And the company Skyport's been doing this and delivering up to, I think it was up to 6 kilograms or 3 kilograms, actually 6 pounds or thereabouts, and delivering it across to the hospitals. So something that was a video shown just now could take up to 6 hours to do by car, and they can now do it in like 15 minutes.
Wow,
that's crazy!
And it's all kind of predefined routes. It's all automated, and it's all essentially driven, if that's how you do it, drive it, operated from an operations centre in Oban. And I just find it absolutely fascinating. It's the first, you've seen for a good year or two or a few years, everybody kind of saying, Amazon's going to do your deliveries by drone and, DPD. Everybody's investing in it hugely. And you think, do you know what? Yeah, great. That's the future. But I can't see how that's ever going to happen. Yeah. I can't see how Amazon's going to deliver something to my house because, well, where I live, they'll just use nets to catch the drones, take them apart, sell them to the kids, and use them for other benefits. It's you can see, you try and understand how that works. But this is the first time I think I've actually seen it and thought, wow, that's cool, and it actually works.
Yeah.
When you have a look at Skyport's website, you showed the quick video there. They're also working with the Royal Mail. When you think about island communities or remote communities, and that's when it really clicks and makes sense. Very impressive. If you do Google them, you just find lots of football stuff, though, because it just automatic. It's all Sky Sports.
Sky Ports. Yeah. Like, did you mean Sky Sports? Thanks, Google.
But I just think it's just fantastic. The first time really seeing it. When I've thought about it before, when people, it's on the news, etc., my thing's always been, how do you actually get it to your door? How do you get it in? Yeah. So when I was followed up on another link after that one, and there's a lot of companies making investment, including Walmart, but a lot of their patents are around the actual delivery process. And this is
a really dodgy diagram.
This is the best diagram ever. This is one of their patent diagrams for delivering.
This is a genuine diagram, yeah?
It's genuine, yeah. So this will be in the US Patents Authority, I presume. And it's how do you do it? So, it comes along, it drops it in, it sends you a message. There's little sensors there. There's a chute. It's terrifying, obviously, for the people inside when it drops in.
I mean, this person here looks shocked that a package has just dropped in through her house. Ah!
But I just love that. It's like Fifth Element or something. You just imagine these all on the outside of buildings in New York City and all these drones dropping off deliveries. Pigeons nesting in.
Yeah, no. But I think your point's really valid though, which is that like whenever I think drones and I think drone deliveries, this is the kind of crap that I think of, which is how's that going to work in city centre?
Yeah,
but that is light years apart from what you just told us with the drone deliveries up in the Highlands, where it can take 6 hours by car, and now we're talking medicines and vaccines and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
That's a real use case. That's a really good use case. 6 hours down to 15 minutes.
I'm sure they must be able to do it with like transplants, everything. Actual organs. Things that aren't too heavy but they're critical. Blood. All these sort of medical things. But I think that's fantastic. Really, really impressed.
No, it's really good, really good. I just got to say hello to Scotty Miller as well. Hey, Scotty, thanks for joining us in. I am a big fan of Scotty Miller. He's sends me books as well, just randomly out of the blue, which is really nice. So it's good to see you.
Wow.
All right, so let's just move on to some more Microsofty world stuff. Martin, this is with you. So you have spotted, and maybe the whole world has spotted if they're in the Microsoft camp, that Ignite is coming up.
Yeah,
so let's have a quick look. It's next week. That's come up really quick.
Well, yeah, that's why I thought we should mention it, because I registered a wee while ago for it, and then I got something through with the agendas, etc., to put it together. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll have a look at that later.
I think it's just sneaked up on us, hasn't it?
It's next Tuesday.
Yeah. It's just sneaked up on us. Now,
yeah, Tuesday through to Thursday next week.
For people who don't know, just give me a quick 2 minutes. What's the Ignite conference, and why would people bother to attend? Especially now it's virtual and you don't have to travel to Florida.
Well, that's it. You always had to travel. You had to, book up, etc. And it was a lot of webinar, or sort of a lot of in-person sessions on, in Ignite's case, mostly deeply technical work streams. Like an hour or two here and there. The themes this year is very much building on previous years with AI and Teams, and a lot of kind of focus on there. And also this year, I can see quite a lot on Microsoft Viva. So, from kind of low-level technical right through to very deeply technical AI, etc. So well worth attending. There is obviously a time difference. A lot of it will be coming from the States, so a lot of it's in the evening. However, you can follow up at a later date on demand as well.
Yeah, so as long as you're registered, you can get access to the sessions afterwards anyway. And I think that helps, because when you look at the session agenda, it is,
there's a lot of overlap.
All overlap. There's 378 sessions over these 3 days.
Wow.
So they do really overlap. So yeah, you can get yourself booked in, then you can kind of consume these when you want. What I noticed, just having a quick look at this as well, is if we kind of just hit on just filtering the kind of what are the main themes that are happening. I mean, learning's obviously big. That's what's going to happen, at the Ignite session. But actually, the next two are about remote and hybrid work and collaboration. So again, it's back to that conversation that we just had about, Goldman Sachs and
maybe they should watch some of this.
Well, but it's a huge focus, because I think the majority of certainly of our industry looks at this and looks at our customers and says this isn't just going to switch back to the way it was. When we get here in the UK to June 21st, come on, when we get to June 21st and back in the pub, back to the office, it's not just going to switch back to how it was. It's always going to be this hybrid now, and hybrid work, I think it's a really big thing. And that's
people in England, don't forget, Scott. Poor old Martin, God knows when he's getting out of lockdown.
I think I'm getting out of lockdown 2022. I don't know.
I've had this conversation with, go ahead and get out the giant space laser and just carve off Scotland, and you can shout freedom as you drift off. I know that's not how science works, but still.
It'd be fun if it did.
I'm just playing. Now, you also made a good point, I think, here, because there's some great investments going on from Microsoft in terms of the learning that you can do. There are some learning vouchers that you can get, so if you want to take any of the exams.
There is. So there's. I took part in this last year. I think it may have happened the year before. It's good to see that they're continuing it. It's the Microsoft Cloud Skills Challenge. So get yourself registered there. You'll have a choice of challenges to take part in. Essentially what it is you go through like a kind of small course, a number of modules on a specific subject via Microsoft Learn. Mm-hmm. Some of them will be interactive. You can take your time. You don't have to do it all at once in a one shot. You can do it over a matter of weeks or however long it takes. You would then, some of them are interactive. You get some workshop stuff to do on there. Each module will have 4 or 5 questions at the end of it. You get to retake them as well. They're not, hugely difficult, and it doesn't stop you if you fail at all. Once you've completed your challenge, within a month or so, once everybody's done theirs and the deadline's finished, you'll get a voucher. And you've got a voucher that's worth £135 for a Microsoft exam. There will be specific exams it applies to. It won't be every one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's well worth doing.
That's well worth doing,
a free exam voucher.
Well, and I think it also kind of just encourages you to go through the learning process and get through some of those things, because a lot of times we all look at that and go, yeah, if I wasn't doing something else, but actually the kind of the reward of getting the exam voucher at the end actually helps, kind of push you to do that as well.
Exactly, and it reminds me of another one, which was it came out a while ago. I don't think that many people that I know of took it up. I know that my daughter did because she was impacted by COVID. But when you go through to book an exam, there's also an option there. It's like COVID 15, I think it is. It's like $15 you pay. I'm not sure what checks it does on you, but essentially you can get some of these cloud exam tickets for $15 if you've been affected by the furlough or anything like that.
Yeah,
which is cool. Also, sorry, can you go?
No, you go ahead, because I think you're about to go into the next one.
I was just going to say that when I was looking at the Ignite kind of sessions, I came across one which reminded me that the exams are actually changing. So as of March, if you're certified, depending on when your exams kind of expire, because they've all got dates on them. So once they expire, you can then recertify via Microsoft Learn. You'll do the kind of training modules, do the kind of quizzes or questions at the end of it, to recertify without having to pay for another exam.
That's good.
But that will be for specific exams. But I can imagine that's the way Microsoft's going full stop.
Yeah.
So there is we can stick in a link, but there is an Ask the Expert session at Ignite on that one.
Yeah, and this is to stop getting into this kind of 2-year cycle of having to keep everything up to date. They're saying you can kind of do this 6 monthly now. They'll almost expire on a 6-month cadence, and you just keep topping up, but without having to pay for those
and it's just
again.
proving your skills by just kind of keeping up that momentum of learning and showing it there, which is cool.
No, that's cool. I actually thought you were going to dive into, when you mentioned about your daughter just taking on some of the skills challenge stuff, I thought you were going to jump into the Tech Her stuff that you spotted.
No, that was another free one, Tech Her. As I say, my daughter Danielle, she done this as well. They'll do some webinars and just to upskill women in technologies around cloud and aspirations there, and to help give them some guidance. So there's one coming up in April, the end of April, which is an Azure Fundamentals 2-day webinar. Yep, 2-day webinar. If you do that, then you'll get an AZ 900 exam voucher.
Oh, nice. That's good.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, I can see there's AI fundamentals and Power Platform as well. So these are all the key things, especially Power Platform, really strong stuff. Yeah. So no, that's really cool. Okay, good. Morning, Pete. I can see Pete. Pete says he got triggered because he heard that someone doesn't like electric cars. Ben, who on earth?
I don't dislike electric cars. I just find them interesting.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's have a look, because here's what you've picked out of the news this week for us. So, tell me more.
So basically, Hyundai fit LG batteries to these cars, and it looks like they've not followed manufacturers' best practices. So they're overcharging the batteries or doing something with the batteries, and they've effectively become a fire risk. So they're going to have to replace 82,000 vehicle batteries, which it's not going to be cheap. I just find it quite interesting. It's just the pace of technology. It's going that quick. But my question is it going too quick? Because certainly for these, they're pumping out. The company coming from internal combustion straight into electric. Are they pushing the limit too quickly? And potentially affecting safety. The fact they're going to have to recall 82,000 vehicles seems extremely crazy.
It is. Now, I mean, Go on.
I get the point. Obviously, there's all manufacturers, they always have to recall things, but you don't necessarily think, right, we're going to replace 82,000 engines or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just because the engine's been there forever. But
I wonder how environmentally friendly it is to recycle.
What happens? What happens to all those batteries? Is it what? No one. From what I've seen, no one actually done a comparison to the actual environmental cost from running a car for 20 years. Standard manufacturing process compared to an electric car with the battery process than the recycling and things. If someone could give me the actual facts and the differences between those, I've not actually seen something written down which isn't biased towards one or the other. That'd be cool. But yeah,
I mean, Pete's got a good point here. Every year in the UK, over 100,000 cars, nearly 300 a day, go up in flames.
Interesting.
That's absolutely crazy. Now, of course, that electric cars are not the majority of cars that we have on the roads here in the UK. We're only just getting into these. So it certainly seems, is there a trade-off between the more modern cars that we've got and these fantastic capabilities? And yes, the good news is they're able to spot that there's the fire risk in these things and do the recall because they've got the data to be able to get in touch with all these purchasers now and pull them back. Yeah. And actually a lot more of these electric vehicles have got tracking information in, so we can really find out where's the vehicle, who's got all of it, right? We'll get that back because it's not safe. Actually, we don't have that in a lot of the older vehicles. So I think there's a good side of things with the technology part there as well, that we're able to get
track it, yeah, quickly.
Definitely. Which I think is really important. But yeah,
I'm going to presume Pete's got an electric car. Do let us know what you do have.
Come on, this is Pete the Legend Matheson. What electric car do you think he drives? I tell you what, it is not going to be the Kia e-Niro that I drive.
I'm going to say Tesla.
Which is fine, by the way, apart from that it sings to me when you turn it on and it sings to me when you turn it off and it bongs every two. Anyway, enough Kia bashing. Great little car. Let's move on. So, Ben, also this week, you found something really interesting. Now, this is that Apple users are being targeted by a mysterious malware. And this almost sounds like an episode of Scooby-Doo.
Mysterious.
Apple and the mysterious malware.
Yeah.
But tell me more. Tell me what's happening.
So basically, a command and control based malware, virus, whatever you want to call it, found on, I can't remember the exact numbers, but loads of Mac devices. You can see there, 30,000 Mac devices, and basically it's just been done, the thing, to prove a point, so that no device is exempt from malware. So literally they've not done no harm. They've just proved that we can actually get malware everywhere, which I found quite interesting because the whole Apple scene is, it's secure, you don't need any AV or anything like that. But in reality, you do, based on what we've just seen there. So,
well, and that's a real perception thing, isn't it? There's a real perception that viruses affect Windows machines and Linux machines and Apple Macs are just, we're safe. There's a real perception that that's the case. Now, I looked at that and went, 30,000 Mac devices. Okay, that's not a lot, but actually this is 30,000 Mac devices with the brand new M1 chip. Mm-hmm. So actually, there's not a huge amount of these out there right now. These are the latest machines that just came out in the last month or so. And so it's interesting for me that, they're just proving a point. They didn't actually put any sort of dangerous payload in this.
Yeah.
They just wanted to show, hey, we can get to Mac users as well. And it just, it would be great if we can kind of break through that mindset that just says, I've got a Mac, I don't need, antivirus. We're all used to that perception again with Windows. It's Windows, better put an antivirus on it. But why don't we have that same approach when it comes to Macs? I think we do, again, because we're in the technology, scene. But I think that the broader perception is you don't need to bother. Mac is safer than Windows.
Yeah, you know what I did the other day? Actually, I installed Defender ATP on my my iOS phone, on my Apple phone.
You put a Microsoft antivirus on your Apple phone?
Yeah.
Has anyone not been around to burn you at the stake?
No, not yet. But yeah, it works quite well. Yeah.
Tim Cook is going to knock on your door.
Yeah, he's probably going to block it next week.
You're not allowed access to the internet anymore. You've got Microsoft antivirus on there.
Well, yeah, just on that though, without being a typical a salesman. So with that, it's obviously Defender ATP, one license for a user. I can have that on 5 endpoints. I've got it on my Windows device. I've got it on my Apple. Got it on my iPad. And if I wanted to, I could install it on my Windows machines, all for one license at £4 or £5 a month. I just can't get over the cost when you compare it to others. And you can stick it on all those devices, and just the power you get from that control panel, you can from an admin point of view, you can see everything. So it's just quite cool. Really cool.
That's fantastic. You can always rely on Ben to shill for Microsoft in one of our live events. Brilliant stuff.
Not at all, because I'll be bashing him in the next session.
Oh, is that when we talk about this thing?
Oh,
because we talked about this on the last live, and if you remember, guys,
don't want to give it away, do we?
No, I don't. But I had a piece of cardboard that was folded up into the rough size of this thing. This is the Microsoft Surface Duo, £1,350. Oh boy, are we having some fun with this? But that is for another day. Let's move on. Ben, just sticking to the Apple theme for a second, because again, this was you with something else that you picked up. And this is that Apple are roughly buying a company up every 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, I guess crazy. When you're a multi-trillion-dollar company, you can afford to do that. But what's happening?
They're buying literally a company every 3 to 4 weeks, but they're not necessarily buying the bigger companies. So they're just going for, I think Martin mentioned earlier, they're going for the patents rather than like typically Microsoft when they bought LinkedIn and Facebook buying WhatsApp and things. They're obviously just hoovering up all those smaller companies and either using those patents within their products and whatever and just cracking on. But it's
I've got a feeling that there's a little factory out there just churning out small businesses
for Apple to go and buy.
It's like we've got a blueprint and this is what they're looking for. Just keep a franchise.
It's an interesting point, isn't it? Because they've bought, they've bought these small companies, but like they've talked about the Apple car, but they're not developing that skill in house. They've gone and bought an AI company that does. Oh my God, my brain just went completely. But
car stuff.
Yeah, car stuff. No, self-driving automation intelligence. Oh my goodness. But they went and bought the company that did that rather than, take that long drive of trying to, create that themselves internally. They've just gone and found someone who's really good at it, a little niche player, and bought that intelligence in. And they're doing that on a scale of every 3 to 4 weeks. If they see something they like they like Shazam and its music recognition capability, then they go and acquire that and just, they can bring it into their software stack inside Apple. Yeah. But I think your point about LinkedIn was interesting, Ben, because Microsoft bought LinkedIn. It was like $26 billion. Mm-hmm. But even if you look at all of the biggest acquisitions that Apple have made recently, it's nowhere near $26 billion. So they're acquiring at a pace, but it's a lot of really small companies where they're just kind of buying in that software capability. And all of this is to develop, obviously, the next generation of M1 processors, the iPhones, the iPads, all that kind of good stuff. And it's just to keep them leapfrogging, I think, to keep them ahead of the competition. Because again, and we're not going to spoil my in-depth review, but I
wonder if they'll get acquired. The company who developed that particular handset. I wonder if they'll be on the list.
Oh God. Probably not. Not. Cool. All right. Well, that is news, and we are flying past our 30-minute mark. So let us get into our next little segment, which is Ben's Tech Corner. We need jingles.
We need a jingle, don't we? We do.
So I don't want that one. I want this one. Ben, what have you been looking at this week?
So Microsoft have announced a preview of Azure Front Door, which, not to confuse things, is already GA, but they've released effectively another version of Front Door, which has a couple of different SKUs. So they have a standard SKU and a premium SKU.
Yeah.
With those come a massive price difference, but with the premium, obviously, you get tons more security features, in-depth analysis and things. But just for a couple of you guys who, if you've not aware of Front Door, so basically Front Door is a way of exposing your Azure resources, your on-premise resources, other cloud provider resources from around the internet, wherever you want, and you can control that access and publish those services globally without having to worry about site-specific, region-specific issues. Literally, you've got an endpoint, you want to publish it to the internet, you've got servers all over the world, you can also publish that and control that from one central point. You've got the whole WAF functionality there, so the whole protection. And it's quite cool. So yeah, basically there's the standard service, which has been there since 2019, I think it was. But now they've just released new service, standard and premium, just to confuse things. So there's 2 front doors, so I'll make sure they're both shut. And there's a cheaper one, an expensive one. Get more of the more advanced features with the premium. One of the advanced features I want to touch on is something called Private Link. So private link is you can literally insert the Azure service endpoint directly into your backend applications and services within Azure. So the way a front door typically works, without getting too technical, is you've got your front door service and then you've got your public endpoints, and it just load balances and all distributes traffic that way. Obviously, you can firewall those off and secure it that way. But what the new premium service can do is literally a back-end direct link into that service, so that link between your VM, your app service or whatever is private between that and front door, and then the front door forward is obviously just protected with SSL or whatever you want. So that's one of the probably the key features that stood out for me. There's obviously a lot more, but that's just probably one of the key things I just picked to bring to this session.
No, that's cool. I think at some point you might have to get some crayons and explain it to me like I'm 5. But we did put front door in for a couple of projects recently, didn't we, Ben? And
we have, yeah.
The previous thing we would have done was put in some web application firewalls and put in some load balancers behind that, and then put in like the web servers, that kind of thing. And when we do that across 2 different data centers in Azure, because we want the resilience and the load balancing, the capability, we end up kind of paying for everything twice. And then also, if you make some firewall changes over here, you've got to remember to go make them over here in the DR site, which is all a bit rubbish, and the costs all add up. But with front door, what you've been able to do is actually put that front door service out in the Azure fabric, and then load balance across 2 different data centers or route between 2 different data centers, and not have to duplicate all that stuff. So making it simple, saving money, keeping it secure, all that stuff's done through the front door service.
That's one thing definitely the worth pointing out is it's a global service, so you don't have to worry about UK South going down or UK West or whatever. It's a global service in Microsoft POPs. So when you deploy that, you know it's global. So you can have servers wherever you want, load balance that traffic. There's obviously still in some circumstances it still might be worth having load balancers further down, just depending on how you want to scale the application, how it's being done. But as a global load balancing solution, you've obviously got the front door as well, which has the whole web application protection up there as well. Monitor, protect from bots, SQL injection, all that type stuff.
So, that's a really good point, actually, because when you kind of tick that policy at the beginning, there's like a set of baked in OWASP compatible policies that are going to protect you from the most common attacks that would happen to any kind of e-commerce engine or web engine that you're going to put out there. Actually, this protection just kind of tick a box, and all of those things are turned on, which is really nice. And you can have more policies if you want, but that kind of base policy is like £15 a month, like $20 a month. Tick the box and it's all turned on. Really, really nice stuff. Okay, cool. We've got some more Ben's Tech Corner that I've got down just here. But just before we jump into that, Ben, I just want to put some pressure on Martin. Martin, Ben's got Tech Corner. What are you doing?
Nobody's putting Martin in the corner.
Oh, that is a fresh reference, Grandad. Well done. Okay. All right. Ben, let's move on.
Granddad's corner. Sitting in a little chair. Oh my
God. Cool. So, Ben, you've got something here about an Exchange PS Commandlet. I'm not sure I'm going to be excited about this, but come on, tell me more
it's not that exciting, but basically, and no one knows all about it, because one of those good Microsoft in development features, which is quite vague. Microsoft fashion, there you go. So we go up and bring them back down.
He's made it, okay.
But basically, the whole inbound email, so external emails, sending you're distracting me now. People sending emails internally. Basically, you don't necessarily know it's from external, and people sometimes reply by accident, and then obviously they've leaked data or whatever. So what they're bringing here with this is the ability to pop out a little notification or a mail tip within Outlook saying this is external, because at the moment you have to create a transport rule or append or prepend an email, and it just says external. So by the time you've exchanged loads of emails with someone, you've got a million lines of this email is external, this email is external. So basically what Microsoft are introducing is literally a tag within Outlook which says this is from an external user, and then you can then go ahead and prompt a mail tip. So this is external, be careful who you're sending this to, which I thought quite good. And it should have come out probably like 5-10 years ago, but they finally got there.
So could this help with the challenge that you had recently from the client who wanted a notification every time they were about to send emails externally?
Exactly, yeah.
They had a use case where they wanted every time someone typed in an email address, they were about to send an email for their own reasons, they wanted a mail tip or a pop-up that came up and said, hey, this is an external email. Now, there was already some basic functionality around that, but they actually wanted you to press a button to acknowledge that, didn't they? They wanted you to say, it's an external, tell me that you're okay to go ahead and have a separate button press.
Yeah, so that's third party. So this, well, it's vague in what it actually does, but this, from what I've read so far, is literally this will say this email is external when you can see it in your inbox, basically.
Okay, so you get that kind of tag.
Yeah. It's, for example, if someone were to spoof you from somewhere else and it got past the filters or whatever and the anti-spoof protection, they would know it's external, even though it was Scott Riley at Gmail.
Like it managed to get through. Okay.
Yeah.
I get you. Okay. All right. And then you've got a Windows Package Manager that's coming out in May 2021.
Yeah, so Windows Package Manager, if you've come across like the use of like chocolatey and things like that, basically this is Microsoft's version. What's interesting is it's effectively it's going to be open source as well. But what it's going to do is it actually came out in preview last May, and I think they're aiming to release it this May. But it'd be quite interesting from a Windows point of view, because there's never been a built-in central package manager. You know, if I don't know, you rebuild your machine, you have to go download all the installers manually, unless you're obviously using something like Autopilot or whatever. But this is obviously bringing the whole ease and use of a package manager like you do on Linux operating systems, literally apt-get or whatever. There's going to be effectively win-get, and then you just do your installs from command line really easily. So that looks quite good. So stay tuned. At the moment, cool. It's quite convoluted to actually test it at the moment. You need to run an insider build and things like that. But yeah, if you just scroll down, I think you'll see some of the dates they're aiming for. So yeah, they're looking at releasing version 1 May 21. So that's something to stay tuned, and we'll have a play when that comes out.
Oh, and you're not kidding. It is actually literally win-get.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, no, I can see that, and I can see that being really useful because again, we are bumping into chocolatey quite a lot as that kind of package manager, and here just be able to do those post-install scripts, just a bit of PowerShell, win-get, and then here's all the apps we want you to deploy.
It's all the actual updating of applications is really tricky. So, for example, to give you an example of Intune, you can deploy all the applications, but they all have their own independent updating system. Some of them just work, some of them don't. But with this, there should be the ability to update all your applications from the public repos, and it'll just go.
Nice. No, that makes total sense because again, when we do Intune or Autopilot rollouts, we could say, hey, go and put the OS on, go and put Office on, all the obvious stuff. But I want Adobe Reader. I want Adobe Reader latest. You know, and we'll only get whatever package we've got sat in our library or whatever. This will give us the ability to say, don't just do that, but actually go and get the latest copy of that. Do I need to worry about like which apps? Do I need to maintain the repo of apps, or is it literally going to go and be compatible with most of the main vendors?
It's basically up to, because it's effectively open source. You can publish your own effectively a manifest file, which allows you to install that. But there's the public, and I presume there'll be the ability to have your own private repos as well, for obviously for the security and compliance side of things as well, I would imagine. But the fact it's going to be built into Windows, you'll just be able to do a win-get and it'll just work.
That is really cool.
It should be quite cool. Yeah. So stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Cool. Well, I think that is everything that we were going to yabber about this week, and we have done nearly 45 minutes.
Wow.
Thank you to everyone who stayed tuned for that entire time. I can tell some people are still listening because look, Amy's there saying she was a baby when that reference came out about Martin being in the corner. Definitely get some fresh references.
Also, Pete's not told us what car he's got, if he's still watching.
It's got to be a Tesla, hasn't it? Surely. I'm expecting the Model X with the gull wing doors because that's like, I'd have that. Oh, come on. Cool. Well, I think that's it. Let's call it here, guys. It's been an amazing session. Thank you both for chatting to me and taking time out. I love these catch-ups, and I love that we get to share them with everyone. And I love that people listen, and we get told, look, I just have you on in the background, and you can just yabber away.
Hey, there we go.
He's got a Model 3 Performance. That is an awesome choice. That is an awesome choice. Slightly better, just... it's a go-kart. It's slightly better than my Kia e-Niro, I think. I think if I put mine into sports mode, then we might have.
Maybe you should have a race on private land, obviously.
Of course.
A really quick caveat there.
Yeah,
that's
we have the internet. Yeah,
not on public highways. Cool, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.